First, I want to say a few words about the tragic death of George Floyd in the United States. As Premier of Quebec, I stand in solidarity with the people who denounce racial violence. We must continue to build a society free of racism. I want to thank the vast majority of people who respected the distancing measures and who wore a mask at the protest in Montreal yesterday. On the other hand, those who took advantage of it to loot and vandalize must face the legal consequences.
Yes, Mr. Premier,
Yeah.
going back to yesterday's protest, one of the main messages from the protesters was that systemic racism is not just a U.S. problem, that there is systemic racism with Montreal Police and the SQ. Do you agree with those protesters?
Yeah. I would say that, yes, we have to admit that we have some problems in Montreal, in Quebec, but the problem is not as worse as in the United States, I would say. But still, I don't like to see that few, it's a real, very, very small minority of our police people that they choose a bit the people arrested. So I would like that we stop that, and I want to make sure that in the study that is done and the book that will be presented, the Green Book by Geneviève Guilbeault, this problem will be studied in order that we make sure that it doesn't happen anymore.
Giuseppe Valiente, Canadian Press.
Good afternoon. I'm going to retake the question of my colleague from CBC, and I'll just go a little more detail here. Justin Trudeau, just a few moments ago, earlier today, he said, regarding the protests in the U.S., but in Canada as well, he said, anti-black racism is real, unconscious bias is real, systemic discrimination is real, and they happen in Canada. So do you still think that Trudeau is wrong and that the protesters yesterday are wrong and that there is no systemic discrimination and systemic racism in Quebec?
Well, we had this discussion very often. I think that there is some discrimination in Quebec, but there's no systemic discrimination. There's no system in Quebec of discrimination, and it's a very, very small minority of the people that are doing some discrimination.